Hi, I'm Clara. I'm an acupuncture student and a knitter, lover of all things healing needles. I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I just started knitting in February of this year, so I wanted to document my journey here. Today, I've got a pretty standard structured knitting podcast, so I've got the finished objects, whips, and acquisitions. However, the acquisitions part is going to be quite lengthy. I had just ironically filmed my last knitting podcast where I literally was like, yeah, I don't really want to like build up a stash, kind of makes me anxious to have a stash. And then the next day I went on Facebook Marketplace and this like massive de-stash popped up and it was just too good to pass up. And so yes, I've got quite a bit of yarn now. I think the next video that I film might be like a stash plans kind of video where I go through all of the yarns that I have and exactly what projects I want to make with what, because I just like having the project plans ready to go. It helps it organize like the stash in my head a little bit better and it feels a lot less overwhelming. So yeah, look out for that, I guess, in the future. But yeah, I do have quite a bit of yarns to get through. So the meditations and musing part is going to be very short and sweet this time. Also, I am currently wearing the Breezy Tank by kisskiss.rhinestones. I knit it up with the Lion Brand Coboo in the colors Vanilla Cream and Coal, and this is my own custom little colorwork chart that I added in the middle. I do have the like picture of the chart on my Ravelry, along with a lot of project notes if you are interested. But I love wearing this. It's perfect for the summer, especially with this yarn. I think it's like the perfect, as the name suggests, it is very breezy, so I think it's great for the warmer weather. All right, so let's just get straight into it. For finished objects, the first thing I have is the French Twist Scarf by Caro in the City. This is a free pattern, love that. It's a pretty simple little triangle scarf. It's got I-cord edging on one side and then a little 4-stitch like cable on the edge. I don't know if you can see it that clearly. And this is made with Valley Yarns Granville in the color Kelp, which is 90% cotton, 10% merino. I don't really know. I don't know. I haven't had that much experience, obviously, with many yarns since I just started knitting this year. But personally, like, I'm not sure what the point of the 10% merino really was. I've knit with 100% cotton and I've also knit with 100% merino wool, and I know a lot of people like the blends because there's a little bit more elasticity, but I think with only 10% merino, like I don't really think it had that much of a difference as far as the elasticity goes when you were knitting with it, but maybe that's just me. But I definitely felt like there's like the knit two togethers and the knit front and back, whatever, like the increasing basically was a little bit tricky. It wasn't too bad, but I was definitely like, oh yeah, I could see like if this was 100% wool, I think this would have been a bit easier to get my needles through and do those stitches. So yeah, I mean, it's a great yarn. Like, it's very soft and I like having it around my neck. So that's great, but I wonder what the ratio is between wool and cotton to like how much wool you would need to have in that mix to really feel a difference when you're knitting it up. If that makes sense. Like I'm not sure about that ratio, but I'm not sure if 10% really does a whole lot. But at the end of the day, I do think the yarn's great. I have been wearing this a lot. I had mentioned in my last video that it gets really, really cold at work because I work at a physical therapy office, so people are like constantly moving around. So the PTs like to keep it super cold all the time, and I am always freezing. And so I will just keep this in my car. I like have it on the little mirror thingy. I just wrap it around a couple times just so that it's always there whenever I need it. And it's just like a really nice thing to have like in your car on the go, maybe attached to your purse or something like that. But it is so cute. I think this is just like the perfect color for me. I think it really complements my skin tone. Big fan of this scarf. I'm definitely going to make more little scarves going forward. I think they're a really nice break from your bigger projects and a really great way to like try out new techniques. As I mentioned before, this was my first time doing any sort of cabling and I really enjoyed it, but it was really nice to have that before jumping into like a full cabled sweater or anything like that. And yeah, it's just like such a fun accessory to add to your outfits. I think having the triangle shape really helps your like motivation, and it makes you feel like it's working up so fast, especially like at the beginning when you're just increasing. You're just like, oh my god, this is going by so fast, and then you get to like the decreases and you're like, oh my goodness, like each row takes less and less time and I'm just getting like finished with this so fast. And so yeah, it's very rewarding, and I understand like there's definitely a bit of like a dopamine rush, I feel, with like the triangle shaped scarves. So I really enjoyed the process of making this. Okay, the next two things I made were actually sewing projects, which I don't know, maybe I'm getting back into sewing. I feel like making things with fiber consistently has gotten me like more open to picking up sewing again or doing more with sewing. As I mentioned before, I like sewing, but I don't like doing anything complicated. I don't really like doing a whole lot of garment construction just because I don't honestly have the room to cut out a lot of stuff that I would need for like garments. Like those patterns are just huge. But I did find a few videos talking about making tiered like gathered skirts, and that I was like, okay, I can get behind because they're literally just rectangles, and I can do rectangles. Like I don't like doing any sleeves or anything like that, and so I just the simpler the better when it comes to sewing with me. So yeah, I just watched a few YouTube videos about how to make a gathered skirt. I will link them down below. And then I got a bunch of these shirts, like plaid shirts from the thrift store, and then I patchworked them together and made this beautiful skirt. I will insert a clip of me wearing it so you can see it in its full glory, but I think it came out so beautiful. And it was really, really fun to go to this thrift store and look through all of the shirts and like really put together some patterns that I thought would work well together. I'm definitely thinking about making more of these because it was really fun. It definitely, because it was patchwork, you know, took a bit more time to put together, especially like having to cut up all of the shirts and stuff, but it was a really fun like weekend project, and I think it turned out so beautiful, and I'm really, really excited to wear it. And I think also because of the material, you know, it's just like a lighter cotton, but with the colors and the patterns, I think this can be worn pretty much all year. Like in the winter, I'll obviously have to wear some leggings underneath it, but yeah, it's a light enough fabric to be worn in the summer and spring, but the colors are kind of giving like a little bit of fall winter. So yeah, I love like an all seasons type of garment. Also, there was one video I had watched, which I will link below, because it had a really, really cool technique for how to do the gathers. So if you know anything about sewing, normally with a gathered skirt, a lot of people will do a basting stitch and then just pull the basting stitch to make the gathers. But this video had you do a zigzag stitch over a piece of twine or another piece of string, and then you just pull that string tight. And that is a really genius hack, and it made the whole process so much easier, because like pulling the basting stitches through really gets a bit tedious and it can be a lot more time consuming. But with the twine in the middle of the zigzag stitch, you just pull it and it gathers like immediately, and then at the end you can just pull the string out, and it's just really smart and really efficient. So I would recommend following that tutorial if you do want to make a gathered skirt. But yeah, really great beginner friendly project if you have never done sewing before, and there's tons of free like YouTube tutorials on how to make a gathered skirt. It's super easy. And I also really like the patchwork just because you can wear it, you know, so many different ways. Like you can rotate it around your whole body and just like have a different, almost a different skirt every time you wear it. So yeah, love this guy. Okay, and then yesterday, actually, I made this beautiful like notions organizer, which I'm so proud of. So obviously, if you can't tell, this is made from some of the leftover fabric from the skirt, and then also some fabric from like another flannel shirt that I just don't really wear anymore, but it's a really nice like thicker cotton flannel fabric, and so I wanted to use it for something, and I think these colors just really go really nicely together. So yeah, I think this is so cool. Basically, it's just a bunch of rectangles that I sewed together. So I just measured all of the stuff that I normally keep in my project bag and to figure out how big these pockets would have to be. And then same thing for the outside, I just sewed in on some pockets so I can keep some more stuff there. This was an existing button band from the plaid shirt, so it closes like that. And then I have this flap here on the inside just in case, like when I have it closed, if I turn it upside down, my needles aren't gonna fall out. And then other than that, I also sewed down a seam in the middle here because I actually inserted 2 rectangles of cardboard to keep this nice and sturdy. I do have wooden needles, and that just kind of, I always get like paranoid that they're gonna break or something, like if I'm carrying around my project bag and like, I don't know. I carry like so much stuff to work. I have my project bag, my regular tote bag with all my stuff in it, and then I have another tote bag for like my food. And so I'm just carrying so much all the time, and I have like 3 bags on my shoulder at once, and I just feel like it's all jostling around, and so I get very paranoid about my needles breaking in that process basically. So I did really want it to be like a nice sturdy material. So yeah, I guess I'll just go through like a little bit of a tour. So I have my crochet hooks here in case I drop a stitch, and then I also have some whatever needles that I'm using for my current whips. So I have like 3 spots available for those. Obviously right now I'm only using 1 size needle, so that's great. And then I also have like a spot for my darning needles, and then I have 2 other empty spots right here for like shorties, for when I do like smaller projects or sleeves and stuff like that. I've got my snips right here, and then this is just like, you know, the little stoppers and the tightening keys. And then I also have some stitch stoppers in there, which I don't know, I have them with me but I never really use them. Again, since I'm like paranoid about my needles breaking, I pretty much every time I put my project away, I will unscrew the needles and put it back in here, and then just put the stoppers on the cables, which I realize now that most people don't do that. They just like put on the stitch stoppers and go, but like, I don't know, it just makes me feel more secure, which is just more reason why I like having this like notions organizer, is to keep all of my needles here while I'm not using them. And yeah, I don't know, I think a lot of people probably just take their needle cases with them, but I have my needles, as you can see, like displayed here, and I like being able to like come home and see where all of them are. Like something about that, just, I don't know, I like it. It's the way that my brain works. And so whatever needles that I'm using for the actual project I'm working on at the moment, I'll just take it out from here and put it in my little on the go case. And then on the outside here, I've got my little coin purse of stitch markers. And then I've got a little pen and my notebook for any like notes that I need to do on the go. And then on the outside here in this outer pocket, I've got my retractable tape measure, And then lastly, I also have a nail care kit, which is super convenient, just in case you get like a snag. And also I pretty much always have my project bag with me, no matter where I'm going. I just like to always have it there in case I have a few minutes to like knit. And so because I'm not only knitting, but also, as I said, I'm an acupuncture student. And so there are so many times where I get to clinic to treat people and I realize I haven't cut my nails, which is really annoying because we have to take the pulse. Like, pulse reading is a very large part of our diagnosis process. And so you're like pressing into somebody's wrist like this. And I feel really, really bad when I don't cut my nails, because then I just, after I take their pulse, they just have these like, you can see where my nails were just digging into their skin. So I really like to make sure that I have some nail clippers with me wherever I go. So yeah, that is my beautiful little notions organizer. I'm so in love with how this came out. I mean, it is just beautiful and it's so practical and cute, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think like needle cases are one of those things in knitting where I'm just like, that is so expensive for what it is. And I feel like everybody likes very specific things in their like, needle case organizers, and everyone has their own little preferences that I feel like it's just not that hard to do, and more worth it to just make your own so that you have all of your little customizations for yourself right here. So all right, so technically I have two WIPs right now. The first one is my partner's birthday project, which I am not showing on the channel yet, just in case they watch it and then get spoiled, because right now they have no idea what it is, but I am filming like a whole project vlog about that. So that will come out after their birthday, and I'm actually so close to being done with it. I'm so excited. I'm like more than 90% there. Crazy, because I've been working on it since April and it's July 5th right now. So really excited to be done with that. But other than that, I also have the cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and it is knit with the Hobbii extra fine merino friends line. This is held double, and it's in the color Sapphire. I've got the saddle shoulders done and then some of the back part as well. So I am almost done making the increases for the armholes. I think I have like 4 rows left to go, and then I will put these stitches on hold and then start the front. So far, this has been a pretty pleasurable, knitting experience. I really like this yarn, which is semi-unfortunate because I'm like not really wanting to support Hobbii or Hobbii anymore because of all of their AI stuff. It's just not very cool. Yeah, but I do like the yarn. It is a superwash, which I don't know. As I said, like I don't have much experience with yarn, but I feel like I hear a lot of people not really like superwash that much, and I don't know. I like it so far. I think it's really nice. It's super, super stretchy. And so I like working with it. The only annoying thing is that I am holding it double, and I don't know if it's just this yarn, but I use the Knit Picks Radiant needles, and I feel like I unfortunately have to keep a very close eye on my knitting while I'm doing this, because it will either only pick up one strand of the two, or it'll just straight up like cut the strand in half, which is just kind of annoying because I thought that this would be a project where I wouldn't have to look so much, and this was going to be like more of my TV knitting project, if you know what I mean. But because of that like weird ability to split the yarn, I don't feel like I can do that, and so I just have to be a little bit more focused while I'm doing this. But it really makes me worry about holding yarns double in the future, because I know, especially with like cone yarns, it's such a more affordable way to get yarn in like a bigger quantity, but then most of the time you're holding it like double or triple, and I'm just like, okay, from knitting this, that actually does not sound like a very pleasurable experience. But maybe that's just on this yarn, and maybe holding other yarns double or triple, I will not have that same issue. We shall see. But anyways, this is my first cardigan. This is my first, oh hi. So this is my first time obviously doing saddle shoulders, also my first time doing German short rows. And yeah, short rows are really not that bad. I feel like I hear a lot of people like complaining about having to do short rows, but they're pretty fun. I don't know. They were cool. And yeah, I really like how this is turning out. I think this color is going to be so beautiful. So I'm really excited to finish with my partner's project so I can really get grinding on this guy. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. All right, acquisition time. I literally like don't even have adequate storage for this, which is why I'm just keeping it in these like scarves. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of yarn, and this is like not even all of it, I don't think. I have some other in like a little bag over here, so goodness, where do I even start? So as I said, this was a Facebook Marketplace find, and all of this was $150, and I think that's pretty good considering all of the yarn that I got. And the girl was super sweet. She actually works at a local yarn store that's like really close to me. All of it is natural fibers. Most of it was wool and then some cotton as well. And so it was all just really great quality yarn. And I did go through and calculate like how much it would be if I got all of the yarn new, and it was about $400. And so I mean, hey, I just couldn't pass it up. It was too good. All right, so let's start with the yarn that's in my lap. It is the Nashua Creative Focus Cotton. It's a DK weight cotton yarn, and as you can see, this is a pack of 10, and then she also had 4 more. I don't know why she has so much of this cotton, but yeah, I think it's actually a really nice color. When I was there, I kind of couldn't tell, like, it's this like greenish, like very grayish green, like kind of sagey color, and I couldn't tell when I was buying it, like if it was gonna look good or like kind of wash out my skin tone, but actually I think it's gonna look just fine. But yeah, there's a lot of this cotton, and I think it'll be a really nice like summer sweater. So probably gonna do the cloud blouse with this guy. All right, next up we have a ton of Malabrigo worsted. I mean, yeah, it's a lot. Also one of them is already caked up, which I do love. You'll see that as a theme is like most of it is already caked up. Shout out to her for winding them all into cakes, because I actually don't have a ball winder. I've just been manually winding them by hand, which is like super not that fun. But yeah, this yarn is so beautiful. I'll hold up a skein so you can really see. I love this color combination. It's very strawberry chocolate, and honestly, I hadn't felt many Malabrigo yarns before, but this stuff is so nice and soft, and I'm really excited to see how this works up. So yeah, we've got 7 skeins total of this, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what I can do with it. It's definitely enough for either like a sweater or a cardigan. I'm leaning more towards cardigans because, as I've mentioned, I live in Richmond, Virginia. We typically have milder winters, and so I think cardigans are just the most practical and useful thing that I can knit, even though they're not as fun as sweaters, let's be for real. I'm also really appreciative of this girl because she also included like the yarn bands. She has them in like the center of her little balled up skeins, so it was really easy for me to like figure out what I'm working with and also log it in Ravelry, which was a whole like fun afternoon of just logging everything in Ravelry. But this is from Charity Hill Farm in Hardwick, Massachusetts. It's a pure wool. Yeah, that's pretty much all of the information that they give you, but that's all I need. So this is a worsted weight yarn, and it's in this lovely blue color. I have about 340 grams worth, and so I think this would be perfect for like a vest, or if I wanted to stripe it, I think I could make a full sweater or a cardigan. All right, next up we have a ton of the Lion brand Wool Ease Roving Origins. So we've got one skein of this green, one skein of the burgundy, and then 3 skeins worth of this gray color. And she mentioned that she was originally going to make the sailor slippers with this, so I think that would be really fun. It's obviously like a good wool for felting, but I'm also thinking like, I don't know, I feel like there's like mixed reviews on using unspun wool to make like garments, but I'm kind of like, I think this would be enough for like a little sweater or something like that. So we'll see what I do with this. Next up I have this Estelle Yarns Eco Tweed DK, and it's this creamy color that has tiny little flecks of tweed in it. I think it's super beautiful. It's actually really soft, especially for being a tweed. And then I also have, this is the only one that did not have a yarn band in it, but it's this beautiful brown, like, it's not tweed, but it's a little more rustic, and I think these would pair really nice together. So maybe I'll make like a striped scarf or something with it. But yeah, love these two. This is the Kelbourne Woolens Scout. It's 100% wool as well, and it's just the black color, and it's 100% wool as well. And this is actually really soft, especially for it being 100% wool. And I've heard really good things about Kelbourne Woolens, and I think that's a really, like, it's been really fun to go through all of these yarns that I got from this, just because a lot of these yarns are honestly like yarns that I'm interested in but would probably never buy for myself, just because buying them new is pretty pricey, and so getting them on this like massive discount has been really cool, and I'm really excited to work with a lot of these yarns. So that is the Kelbourne Woolens Scout. Next I have the Reynolds Candide 100% wool. I have 142 grams worth of this. It is now discontinued, but I think I have a pretty decent amount to make like an accessory of some sort, and I think it is just such a beautiful, vibrant red. This is the Cloudborn Fibers wool bulky natural kettle dyes in the color Night Sky. So again, this guy is 100% wool. I just have one skein, and I love this like kind of steely grayish, like charcoaly, I don't know, it leans a little more cool toned, so I really love that color. This is the Valley Yarns Charlemont in this gray color, and it is 60% fine superwash merino, 20% mulberry silk, and 20% polyamide. And this is super soft. I think this is gonna have to be some sort of next to skin wearable thing, just because of how soft it is. Next I have 50 grams of this BC Garn BioBalance yarn in this nice cream color, and this is another one of those yarns that I've been really eyeing because I've heard so many people say such good things about it, and I've been really looking for more like cotton wool blends, because again, I live in like a little bit of a warmer climate, so I think cotton wool blends are just perfect for like most seasons here. And this is really nice. It's really nice and soft. Again, I think this is one that I will have to make something that is like a next to skin garment. It is beautiful, and I think new one of these is like $30, and so I'm really glad to get this on such a fat discount, and I'm really excited to work with this guy. Okay, last thing I got is this Juniper Moon Farms Herriot Fine. I have 200 grams worth of this, and it is a 75% alpaca, 25% nylon, and it's a pretty fine fingering to lace weight. And man, This is so soft. I think it's probably gonna have to be like a scarf or a balaclava or something like that, just because alpaca is quite warm. So I think that would probably be the best use for it, especially because I only have 200 grams. But yeah, this is another one where I'm just like, ooh, really, really excited to work with this. I definitely would not have bought this for myself because it is a bit on the pricey side, but it is just so soft and I love this color. I think it's really nice for my skin tone, so really excited to work with this as well. Okay, that is everything from the Facebook Marketplace haul. However, I did then go to my local yarn shop. Actually, it was the same yarn shop where that girl worked, so I came and said hi to her. And I picked up this Cascade Yarns Anchor Bay in the color Celery and Ibis Rose. And I know, more yarn, which is crazy. But I have been thinking about making something for my mom, and I just know that none of those yarns that I had picked up from the D-stash would be anything that would be like up her alley. And I had been thinking about getting some yarn to make something for her from like picking up all of this other yarn. So this was already gonna happen sooner or later. And I got the Anchor Bay specifically because it's 50% cotton and 50% superwash merino wool. Oh my god. Okay. So anyways, yes, 50% cotton, 50% superwash merino, so it can be thrown in the wash. And I originally actually got the Malabrigo in the color English Rose, and it was just this like beautiful, really saturated pink color with like slight variegation, but it is 100% wool. And then I was thinking about it a little more, and I was like, okay, my mom lives in the desert, and I don't know if I mentioned already, but I'm going to be making a scarf, and I just think it's going to be too hot for my mom. And I also think she's going to be a little bit more sensitive around her neck, so she's going to want something a little softer. So I went around the store and I felt all of the yarns. I hemmed and I hawed, and I had the girls there like help me pick out some yarn, and I came across this combination which I think will be just perfect. She can throw it in the wash if she, wants to. I think, knowing my mom, it's somehow going to end up in the wash, so it's another reason I didn't want to do 100% wool. So I am going to be making the pressed flowers kerchief with this, and I think it's just going to be such a gorgeous combination, so nice and springy. So yeah, that's going to be for my mom. Again, what a steal for all of that yarn for $150. I'm just really excited to work with a lot of these yarns and to just see how they work up. And like, especially as a newer knitter, I feel like being able to work with all of these different kinds of yarns is going to be really fun, and it's going to be a nice way to get to know really what I like and what I don't like out of a yarn, because right now I really have no idea. Like I will go to the store, I will feel some yarn, I will get stuff on sale online, and like watching people's yarn reviews and tier lists on YouTube, that is pretty helpful, but everyone has their own personal preference when it comes to yarn. And so this is such a like cool variety of different yarns, and again, stuff that I would probably never try. And so now I can really get a good sense of what I like and don't like in a yarn, and that can help inform my yarn buying going forward. So really, really excited to start getting into this stash and working from it. So for my meditations and musings, since that just took so long to get through all of that yarn, I'm going to keep it really quick. Basically, I was meditating the other night and I was just feeling very like watery, almost like I could feel like waves going throughout my body. And so I've been thinking a lot about water lately in general. And I've also been thinking a lot about knitting lately. And then I had this idea of like, I love the way that water looks when you can like see the sand underneath, or in a pool, when you can kind of like see all of the like ripples and reflections. Like I'll put a photo here so you know what I'm talking about. I don't know how to describe this, but basically the top down view of a pool. how you can see all of those kind of like little striations and stuff. And I was like, ooh, wouldn't that be cool to put on a sweater or something, or to be able to knit that texture? I think would be really, really cool. Obviously, none of the yarn that I just got is in that category of colors that I would need, so that's going to be for a later time, and I think it's going to involve a crazy amount of like color work charting. So that is like kind of a long-term goal that I'm going to set for myself, is to figure out how to create that texture with knitting, and then maybe potentially how to put that onto an actual garment. Like I think a vest or again a sweater would be really cool. It would just be really complicated to figure out how to do that. So I might start with maybe just like a smaller tapestry or like a little block, just to test it out and see about getting the actual imagery correct. But I think that would just be like the coolest thing ever to have that on a garment. And through a lot of my work, like with fiber arts, I have always been interested in emulating things in nature and like textures in nature, especially like I love the way that like mountain ranges look, how you can see like the depth and the shadows with the mountain ranges. And so I've done a lot of imagery on that front. But in general, like I love to try to see how I can recreate these kind of textures in fiber art form. And I think that would be a really cool way to do it. So yeah, we'll see when eventually I get around to doing that. But that was just a really cool blending of like what I've been thinking about with my meditation and also what I've been thinking about with knitting. So I thought it would be, a good place to share it here in this podcast. So all right, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for sticking with me if you stayed through all of that yarn talk. Definitely let me know if you have any recommendations of things that I should make with any of this new yarn that I just got. Especially some of those like more single skein things. I would definitely appreciate any recommendations that you have. I've been watching a lot of like stash busty videos, so if you have any videos that you would recommend as well, definitely let me know. And yeah, I think everyone is experiencing a heat wave right now, so stay cool, stay hydrated, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.